Good morning, Eagles Nation. What's up, NFL world? All you Dallas Cowboy haters out there just trying to tune in on some Eagle fans. How y'all doing? Steve Hyder, Gate City Sports Channel. And look, man, it's early. It's Tuesday morning, October 1st. Hey, we finally in October, man. Can't wait for the chili to start coming out, guys. We're getting to that point. All right, y'all. I have a feeling something's coming, guys. I wanted to get up this morning. I wanted to make a video just because, like, my gut instinct tells me that something's going to happen in the secondary, and it's going to happen soon. So today's video, I want to talk about a few things. Number one, I want to kind of talk about this narrative that the Eagles roster is old. It's older, and thus we're getting injured, which there is some truth to that, but it's also a lot of overhyped bullshit too. And then I also kind of want to talk about Jim Schwartz because Jim Schwartz he's a big part of this. Like, we criticize Jim Schwartz a lot, and sometimes he absolutely deserves that criticism. But at the same time, we need to understand the type of system that Jim Schwartz likes to run, and then the players and the fits there. And then lastly, I kind of want to talk about what's on our roster and what's available to improve the roster. All right, guys, let's get to today's topic.
The team that doesn't have a defensive back last night that could cover anyone. They're looking at practice squad guys. Right now, the Philadelphia Eagles got $34 million in cap space next year.
All right. As Chris Carter was saying, there is a lot of cap space on the Eagles, and we are clearly decimated by injuries right now. Now, if we really look at the way Howie Roseman viewed this roster and the way the coaching staff viewed this roster, coming into the year, we knew that we were a little shaken up in the secondary because we had Jalen Mills and we had Ronald Darby, both kind of returning from injuries. We weren't really sure what their status was going to be. And you kind of add that on to what we saw in the safety position as well. And you kind of start to get the recipe of like, okay, like we got some guys coming back. Hopefully they're going to come back okay. And like, we should be fine. But even looking at this, we really didn't know how long Ronald Darby was going to be out. We had a pretty good suspicion that Jalen Mills was not going to start the year for us. But that said, when we look at the depth, we still had at the time our two young kids that we went out and we drafted the same year, and we were hoping to see something from them. We have seen something from one of them, but we had Sidney Jones and we had Rasul Douglas. So like, hey, holding down the fort on the outside, like we kind of need to see them anyways because we have a lot of big decisions coming up. Okay. Then we had Crayvon LeBlanc and Avonte Maddox to kind of play the slot and the outsides as well if we needed them. Sidney Jones has also got to kind of bounce inside and outside. So it looked okay from a depth perspective to begin the year. Now, this narrative about, look, this team is so damn old that injuries are piling up. Well, that argument, it doesn't make a lot of sense when we look at the secondary because we're really young in the secondary. Sidney Jones has been in the league for 3 years and the man's only 23 years old. It's one of the aspects of Sidney Jones that's kind of frustrating because he's still a very young football player. There's still a 100% chance that this kid can develop into an elite type corner. I'm just fearful, and I think the rest of us, I think the fan base as a whole is fearful. It's never going to happen in Philly, unfortunately. With that said, when you really look at it, Jalen Mills, who's on the PUP list, that's a 25-year-old. Okay, Crayvon LeBlanc, who's on injury reserve, and we don't know if he'll get that designation to return or not, but he's 25 as well. Ronald Darby, who I think is still fighting off a hamstring injury, is 25. Sidney Jones, who's fighting off that hamstring injury, is 23. Avonte Maddox, who is fighting off that severe neck and concussion, is 23. Is that like an aging roster of injured players to you? It's a hell of a roster of injured players, I'll give you that. It's 5 players. And that leaves us with the current predicament walking into a game against the Jets with what we know. Sure, we don't know. Darby or Jones could come back. But what we're looking at right now, if everything is copacetic, what we're walking into is Rasul Douglas and Orlando Scandrick on the outside, and Craig James probably playing inside the nickel. So I would imagine we'd be using a lot of my bad guys, Jennings and other players kind of rotating in to help him. So we're going to have some issues going into this game, no doubt about it. Not Jennings, I'm sorry, guys, Malcolm Jenkins. So that's the facts of what's going on. Now I want to go into some deeper concepts here. Okay, guys. what you see here in this video clip is a basic cover 3 scheme. Okay, you're looking at essentially one of the staples of Jim Schwartz's coverages. Okay, this is this concept of having a single high safety who's covering in between the numbers. Anything in between the numbers is a responsibility, and you have two outside corners, right, who have everything on the outside. So cover three guys back. All right. This is a fast flow defense and defensive scheme, meaning that those four underneath zone coverage defenders have to play the run first and then go back into their zones. Okay. Obviously, the big problem with the coverage scheme like this is you have to bite very hard on play action. You have to bite very hard on double moves and pump fake, right? You have to be fast flow. To me, this is the origin of a lot of our frustrations with Jim Schwartz, right? You always hear a lot that Jim Schwartz likes to play stick defense, and he does at times. There are times where you can clearly see that he lines across, right, where the actual line to gain is. And the idea being nothing should get behind it. Unfortunately, someone hits you with a screen, hits you with that, and they set up good blocking. It's pretty hard to bring them down before they get the first down. The other issue with this is that you hear a lot of complaints about people saying, like, look, we're playing 10 yards off. Well, when you're playing cover 3, you better be a pretty athletic corner if you're going to play up and press. Because if that guy gets behind you, you only have a single high coverage safety to bail you out. The problem being is if a guy gets by you and that safety has to continuously keep coming over the top to help you out, if they play fake you, if they hit you with a play fake and they open up the middle of the field and they drag a tight end or someone across there, there's no safety to help out. So they're going to hit those intermediate routes on you all day. I'm sorry, guys. Normally speaking, the way you stop something like that from happening is you play a cover 3 robber concept. Robber concept is really easy to understand. Basically, you take that single high coverage safety and you make him move up 3 to 5 steps. Okay. So that way he's in the window of where that basically those crossing routes and those long dragged out routes would come at. He'd be in position to take that away. But when you do that, then both of your corners are kind of on an island and they got to look out for each other. Okay. So if the ball's going to the left side of the field, that means that right cornerback, after he sees that, has got to try to get back and get behind it. Okay. In case that receiver breaks away and vice versa. All right. Hard concept to play, not a difficult thing for the Eagles to do. All right. And to kind of put this on the perspective to close out this video, guys, is we need an upgrade. Okay. We need an upgrade here. And the four guys that I see that are outside of Patrick Peterson, leaving him outside of the conversation because he's not going to help us immediately. He would be still a couple games away. Would be Jalen Ramsey, Jalen Ramsey is very much in a Rasul Douglas type build. More athletic, better player, no doubt about it. This is the best corner probably in the league. But he's a 6'1", 208 pounder. This is a big, stout guy. Adoree Jackson would be an option from the Tennessee Titans, and he's more in the build of a Ronald Darby. 5'11", 5'10-ish, 180, 190 poundish. He's that type of build. Okay. Then we have Xavier Howard, who's kind of an intriguing player because he's an in-between guy. He's like around the height in the build of like a Jalen Mills and like a Sidney Jones. More towards Mills. Sidney Jones is a little underweight, to be honest, but same height kind of weight combination. He's around that 6'1", close to 200-pound range. Okay. And then you get Chris Harris Jr., who's a very unique fit. He's an older guy. This is not a younger guy. The first three guys are all in your 25-ish kind of range, 26-ish. When you get to Chris Harris Jr., now you're talking about a 29, 30-year-old guy who's got a couple more years on him. All right. Chris Harris Jr. is a really intriguing guy because he's only like 5'10", but he's about 200 pounds, which shorter status, stouter build. He's a more physical ball player than what you would probably think. The problem being, I don't know if you've ever heard Shannon Sharp talk, but on athletes, as you age, contrary to belief, the very first thing that starts to go on you is your legs. So now we're dealing with a guy that by the time he gets to Scandrick's age, 32, which is only a few years down the road, how much leg usage are we going to get out of this guy? How much is left in the tank? All right, guys, this is my review. I got a feeling something's going to happen. These four guys I just named are the options. I just went over the type of coverage scheme what we love to run. Look, we use variations of things too. We use the cover two. We use the all-out zero coverage blitz kind of concepts. We've seen that this year. Like, we'll go man to man. Like, we mix things up. But with that said, we're pretty big on this cover three scheme. This is something that Jim Schwartz, it's a staple of his defense. I've kind of talked about the way I feel about Jim Schwartz, which is if the pass rush doesn't get home in this concept, man, we're in a lot of trouble when it comes to things like play action, double moves, pump fakes. Like, we can get exposed if we don't get a pass rush home on those things. We can get exposed if we don't have athletic enough corners to get back when they bite on it, because this has to be a fast flowing defense. So to an extent, they're going to have to bite. Just, you want to be able to get back. You want to be able to recognize the second or third time that pump fake comes around or that double move comes around, that you don't bite on it so much. With that said, that's what my viewpoint is on this situation, guys. I'm going to hop off here. Y'all know what I'm going to ask y'all to do. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what y'all think, man. What do y'all think about this corner situation? What do you guys think about what's going on with the coverage schemes? What do y'all think about Jim Schwartz? Give me your opinions, guys. Let's have a conversation. All right, y'all. Y'all know what time it is. EAGLES. I apologize, guys. This video is a little longer than I intended.